man, you weren't even recording during our sick paraplegic basketball bit.
Let's leave it at that. Let's not tell
Yeah.
anyone. Let's give no.
No, we can't. Of course not. That was too organic. We can't manufacture that.
This is a no opening. We're just doing it this way.
Cool.
So yeah, today I kind of told you last week what we were doing. Do you remember?
Of course.
Then I forgot. And like I'm at the point where I'm in the forgot moment, but like I did remember and I probably will like in about 5 minutes. But like right now I kind of forget. We're talking about
Yeah.
the Happy Killers conspiracy,
Oh, right.
right? And
Wait, happy or the smiley face killers?
happy face, smiley face. It's both
Whatever.
done.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry,
You good?
I did that backwards. So yes, it's smiley face killer's conspiracy. Happy face killer is like they just did a documentary about that fucking guy, or like a docudrama with who's that guy?
Oh, Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, Quaid, Dennis Quaid. And
Yeah.
he plays like Keith Jesperson or whatever and fucking like that Netflix thing. I don't know. I don't like that as much as this. Like Smiley Face Killer's conspiracy. The Keith Hunter Jesperson was called the Happy Face Killer. So it's kind of the same. Like people probably get confused. I don't like doing serial killers as much though. I find them a little boring. This one especially. Like that guy's boring as shit. Like, do you know anything about Keith
Yeah.
Hunter Jesperson? Just a
No, but I thought I thought they just finally caught Dennis Quaid for all the murders that he did.
yeah. Yeah.
They kept blaming Randy because Randy was crazy, but it's like no, it's his older brother's doing it.
Randy was trying to warn us all.
Yeah,
Nobody was listening. Randy, everyone just called him
yeah,
crazy. So he left the
I
country.
know, which is fucking nuts. I mean, like you've never seen a more sane and stable individual.
Fucking Randy Quaid. And not another teen movie is so fucking funny. It's so good. Keith Hunter Jesperson, not that guy. He's just a weird fucking trucker who just loved killing sex workers. Like, you know what I mean? It's just not, it's just boring. I don't like that shit.
Yeah, where's the zest?
Like, it just like some serial killers are super interesting, and I do like to do cover those ones because they do so much fucking depraved shit that it's just like, how does someone get to that level? This guy here is just like, I got a boner, kill a hooker. It's not, and the only reason he's at least a little bit interesting and people talk about him is that when somebody else was like, yeah, I killed that hooker, and he's like, wait, that was me, and then he wrote to the press being like, this guy didn't do it, I did it, and signed it with a smiley face. So that's why he's a smiley face killer. That's literally the only reason he's any type of interesting. It's just sad. Like those kind of cases are just sad and less fun.
Mm,
And not to say that like everything that we don't talk about typically isn't sad, you know. Like I know I'm not innocent of that. Like I literally make fun of sad shit all the time in the show,
yeah, yeah,
right?
a little bit.
But I find this shit interesting. Some stuff, not serial killers, not all serial killers, some serial killers. I don't know. I just doesn't interest me. And then while I'm writing this little episode, made me think of a conversation that I had recently about the podcast about this actual subject about how it's like sad and I'm making fun of shit. And I kind of want to address it a little bit because I think it's an important conversation that more people should hear. And I maybe you disagree with me on this, but
Is it the birds and the bees?
yes, take your pants
Cool.
off.
I've been waiting for this.
Okay. See this little penis? I call it a bee because it's cute and small.
Is that and it's got legs
Yeah, yours is the bird because it has
and
legs.
it's sticky in what appears to be honey, but probably isn't.
Exactly. Somebody was asking me, some unnamed person, I don't want to embarrass them on here because we had a nice little conversation about it. We are talking about the podcast. They're like, oh, I hate true crime pod. I'm like, if you ever listen to any? And they're like, I don't. I hate them. You're like kind of ghoulish, like researching stuff and like giving the to the world and podcast and like you just got to talk about this stuff. Like these people are fucked up. Like, why are you even talking about it? Um, and I that sure, I guess that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like that's an opinion someone could have. But I'm not the only person into this stuff. The biggest complaint they had is the fact that we do jokes with it. You know, like we don't just present it like fucking a newscaster with a boring ass voice and just like, and the killer or the this person went missing, never to be seen again. The end. Like,
Um, have 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 they listened to the show?
Yeah. And they said they hated it because we're just making fun of things all the time,
Uh,
which is fair.
um,
How can we
hmm.
joke about such horrible things? That's what I get. It's real.
um, do they have any friends?
Yes, they do. I being one of them. It was one of my friends.
Okay, but are you really their friend, or is it
Well,
like,
like as much as a person without emotions can have friends.
wait, you don't have emotions, or they don't?
Hmm, I think I do. I've heard of feelings.
You've heard of them?
Yeah, I know it's a word, and I try to like mimic them all the time.
It's that thing you do with your hands, right?
Yeah. But their point is valid. Like, how can you laugh and joke about things like that? Meanwhile, they like crime documentaries on
Um,
Netflix.
I can answer that
Yeah, sure,
easily.
sure.
That's the answer, easily.
Oh, they're more like thinking like you can't laugh about this because this shit's real. Like it's real people, you know? Isn't it gross? Like they're asking me if it's gross. And like maybe it is. And I think it is. I'm gonna tell you, I think kind of it is. I don't try to make fun of victims in the show. We will if their name's like Steven Dick Monkey. Like I'm not gonna make fun of that name, Dick Monkey. Are you kidding me? Of course that guy's getting made fun of, but I'm not getting made fun. I'm not
Or a snack.
a snack, Dick snack.
Yeah.
I don't get the snack thing.
Can't believe
Oh,
Dick
Dick
snack.
snack.
How deep are you into that vape?
This one's a tobacco. I've quit smoking.
Oh, okay.
We'll move.
Oh,
I bought a car. Yeah. I was like, I gotta quit smoking. I'm gonna buy a car.
is that the rule in Canada?
That's my rule because smoking's expensive and I can afford a car if
Oh,
then I don't have to
oh, 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 oh,
buy
oh.
cigarettes. Anyways,
Gotcha.
so like I was telling him, I don't make fun of the people. I'm gonna make fun of Dick Monkey last name, or if his name's Chipley or Snack, but whatever. But just so you know, this was my counter argument to the whole thing. Like you watch all these crime documentaries on Netflix and shit. Anyone who makes a podcast about anything true crime or makes a TV show about anything true crime is like exploiting that crime for their benefit. And not just us. Just because we're making fun of it doesn't mean we're any worse than like the serious one. You know what I mean? Like we're taking
Oh,
a
yeah.
serious topic. So you can't get on this moral high ground and be
I
like, I watched that show and they were serious, so it's not a bad thing. And it's like, well,
Here's my like double take on it, and I'm still raw. I know this, but I little bit feel like it excuses me because I take none of it seriously because I don't respect true crime, and I try to make fun of the entire concept of a true crime podcast because I mean I think our show does in general without even trying. It's called Private Dicks. There's a,
yeah.
there's a cock joke right in the fucking title, and then we're just talking about dead children.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And like I'm not even am I really exploiting it? I make $0 off of this. You know what I mean? Like I just do it because I
mm,
find it fun to talk about and laugh with my friends. And I like
mhm.
that part of the whole thing. There's dudes out there like buddies who making Netflix shit, they're making like, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars off the deaths of
Right,
innocent people. Like, get the
right.
fuck out of here. Who cares? This is just for fun. And like I said, I if I make fun of someone for getting murdered, my bad. But I mean, come on, it was funny. He fell off a fucking building. Someone pushed him off a building, and he landed
Well,
in
it's like whose
cactuses.
fault is it also? Is it the people who make the stuff or the people who so eagerly consume it that people keep making it?
That
You know
was
what I mean? Like,
that was my next point. Like, and they would make their millions of dollars if it wasn't for people like them or like you who like consume this the day it comes out. You know,
yeah,
like
Dennis Quaid's got to get paid somehow.
yeah, exactly,
What do you think all
exactly.
that human flesh buys itself to eat? No.
You think you can make a wonderful Jack Quaid without killing a few fucking innocents for that? Like that wasn't by accident. That was spawned from Satan.
Do you want to know a secret about Dennis Quaid?
Sure.
He secretly was the gerbil in Richard Gere's ass.
Yeah. God, why do you make fun of true crime shit all the time? Because we know that's true and it's a crime.
The biggest crime is pretending to be an adorable gerbil.
Yeah.
How dare
No,
you deceive us and Richard Gere's ass, Dennis Quaid?
I just want anyone who listens to this that thinks like, ooh, this is like, anyways, I'm gonna go listen to my serious podcast. They're the same, except for those guys take it way more seriously. We just have fun with it, like literally the exact same moral standpoint on both the shows, in my opinion. So whether that's
Yeah.
ugly or not, that's up to whomever to decide. But I mean, it's the same. They're both the same. So
I mean, people have been loving to watch things die forever. And that's just, I mean, it doesn't matter if it was the news or like like yeah, like true crime things, but like I mean, do we not remember Sandy Hook and how there was like 50 reporters on the lawn the same day that parents lost their children
for
and
sure.
there's just cameras on their house like that they wouldn't do that if they didn't have some kind of incentive to do it. And it's because people want to know about the shit. It's why mass shooters get famous. It's why gladiator pits were a thing.
Yeah, and
Which
it'll
if
it'll continue to be the same thing. That's why someone likes to watch a
yes, yeah, the
fucking
gladiator pits are coming back. We're making America great again by making it the Roman Empire.
I don't even want to do the Elon salute and say it's a Roman salute. But yeah, they still have that. It's like called UFC and shit like that. They're just people just beating each other. Anyways, it's put it this way. If you don't like
It's
what this is,
that's called edging because they all but kill each other.
yeah, exactly.
It's a tease.
My point is this. If you stop listening, these shows will stop happening. So stop listening to the show if you get upset
Yeah,
about
it's
these kind
your
of shows.
fault.
Yeah, it's true.
It's your
Fuck you,
fault
listener.
that we made fun of Madeline McCann.
We didn't make fun of Madeline. We made fun of her parents.
Did we? I feel like it, but well, yeah, no, I guess not her specifically, but
Yeah, I wouldn't make fun of Madeline. She was a little kid who got murdered. What? That's not funny at all. What's funny is her parents thinking it's okay to leave for a tapas bar for 4 hours while her 4-year-old and 2-year-old sleep in a bed.
correct.
Like, that's fucking hilarious to me. It's stupid,
Correct.
but
Yes.
so yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to kind of, I don't know, throw that out there. Just it made me think of it while I was talking about Keith Hunter Jesperson when I was writing this whole thing. But today we're not talking about something boring ass like that. We're talking about something more fun, and it is a potential serial killer. So that's fun. Or serial killers, huh?
One more question. Was the friend that's not named Dennis Quaid?
Fuck. I'm bleeping that.
You're gonna take it out? Okay. I'm sorry. Was it an adorable gerbil, you think?
An elite team of private detectives.
What if balloons are aliens? Maybe that's the key component we're missing.
Cover-ups.
John's guilty.
Mysteries that need to be solved.
Maybe Mormons need mountains.
Richard, shut up.
I just wanted to, yeah, we're doing that's not a serial killer or serial killers. That's not Keith Hunter Jesperson. So it won't be boring ass like that. Or it might be because this is kind of stupid too, but it's fun and it's a conspiracy. So we haven't done a conspiracy in a long time. What was the last conspiracy we did? Can't even remember.
We take a lot of detours into conspiracy
Yeah, well,
theories.
we make up a lot of conspiracy.
Yeah, we make things into conspiracy theories that generally aren't considered to be on face value.
Yeah. No, this is today we're going to talk about the smiley face killers conspiracy. Talked about this briefly last episode, like I said earlier to RJ. Actually came across it because of the research we did into Henry McCabe. This theory states that there is an active or many active serial killers working together across multiple states, killing people in the same way and disguising them as drownings. Some say there are as low as 70 murders that are connected, or as many as 600 accidental drownings that could be attributed to this serial killer or gang of serial killers. Gang of serial killers. It's kind of fun, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All the victims are men, usually white, young, college age, fit, and were mostly all last seen having a drunken night at the bar with their friends. So let's talk about the smiley face killer theory. This starts in 97 when a guy named Patrick McNeil was out drinking with his friends on February 17th. He was a junior at Fordham College and wasn't old enough to be out drinking anyway. Patrick was described by his friends as a quote ladies man. They kept saying ladies man, which that's a fun little creepy term that no one uses anymore.
Yeah. Hmm.
Also, they also like teased him about how he loved to like look good in his clothes. Like he'd like get in front of the mirror, do his hair a bunch, where he had special cologne to go out at night. He's like a fancy boy.
They
And
teased him for being good looking.
for push trying to be better looking than probably what he was. He tried too
Hmm.
hard. He tried really hard,
Hmm.
but good for
Okay.
him, I guess. Professors at Fordham thought Patrick was a great student, and Patrick had aspirations of working for the FBI when he got through school. He was actually taking accounting, which I find hilarious that they were like, yeah, he's going to be in the FBI. Like, I guess it's just weird path to take, I guess, to get in the FBI. But I guess there's forensic accounting and shit. I guess there's that part of the FBI too. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
mid-February 1997, he and his friends went to a place called the Dapper Dog Bar in Manhattan, somewhere that was known to the Fordham students as a place they could easily underage drink. And also, one of Patrick's friends was the bartender that night, so they thought they could get some thick pours from this guy. Patrick and his friends were having the night of their lives. That's what they're saying. Patrick was for sure. He was observed by witnesses puking near the end of the night in the bathroom.
Great.
Then again outside the bar. And he was seen stumbling outside the bar, disoriented. He was like falling on cars, puking behind the cars again. We've all had the fucking stumbly nights out of the bar. I understand that night. It's not my best night, but it was fun when I was a child. I don't
Those no, those were my best nights. Those I don't think I've been fully happy since then.
for real. Okay. He kind of disappeared on his friends. They kind of didn't really notice when you're at a bar and just like having fun, and then you turn around like, "Where's Patrick?" That's kind of what happened. Patrick was gone, couldn't nowhere to be found. Now this next part, I don't know if I believe this part, but let's take it for what it is because it is according to a police officer that this happened of talking to witnesses outside the bar. So according to the police officer who was investigating the disappearance, Patrick was seen walking south on 2nd Avenue from 92nd Street. Apparently there was a man and a woman in a car, double parked, that was slowly following Patrick from behind. There was a point in the walk where Patrick falls over and the car stops, waits for him to get up, and then as soon as he starts walking again, they start following him south.
That's just a concerned citizen.
You think so? You think if they're concerned, they'd be like, "You want to ride, bud?" They just see follow behind him in their car.
I mean, maybe he didn't want one.
Well,
Maybe he
that's true.
just wanted to, do it on his own. And they were like, "Hey, I support that moxie. However, I'm still gonna make sure you get home alive."
That's true. But okay,
That
well,
that happens every night, Richard.
yeah, people are usually very concerned about strangers' well-being getting onto the
Yeah.
late Manhattan trains. They do that, and then when they disappear, no one ever just comes to the police either and go like, "Yeah, I saw that guy. I made sure he got on the train." They just let it lie. They're like, "He's good. He's gone. Don't worry about it." Yeah, the last time any of these witnesses saw Patrick is when he turned towards the East River on 90th. The car followed him. Now, the observer got a partial plate from the car that was following Patrick that night. And yeah, so 4 days after that, no one, the next day he doesn't show up to class or whatever. He's not to be seen anywhere. And 4 days after he disappeared. So 4 days after his disappearance, Detective Kevin Gannon is put on the case. He was a 16-year veteran on the force and recently been assigned to the missing person squad. It was 2 days before. So I think this might have been his like first case. I'm not sure as from missing persons case. So Gannon goes out looking for Patrick after his parents reported him missing. Gannon gets eyewitness accounts of the people of the car following him. That's all he gets. He doesn't really see, can't find Patrick anywhere. Yeah, his parents, Jackie and Pat, head to New York City to help in the search efforts. They hosted a rally where they collected donations and pleaded to the public for more volunteers to come help search. News spread throughout Patrick's hometown of Portchester, New York, about how he went missing, and some off-duty Portchester police officers went to Manhattan to help look for the missing young adult as well. Many search parties were formed, posters were placed, no sign of Patrick until about April, or I shouldn't say about, it was April 7th, nearly 2 months after his disappearance, actually 50 days exactly. He was found by the Army Corps of Engineers in the East River near Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, over 12 miles from where he was last seen. He was floating face
Oh,
up, which
oh, thank God.
it's weird for a drowning victim to be face up. That's not typical. They're usually face down.
But yeah, because they survive when they're face up, right?
They can breathe. Yeah, usually with their face up, they can breathe.
Yeah. So he was okay.
No, he was dead.
Oh, how? He was face up. We just
This is part of the
established this.
mystery. This is part of the mystery. RJ, you're catching on to this mystery real quick.
Thanks.
So after the autopsy is done by the medical examiner named Dr. Charles Hirsch, he quickly calls the death of Patrick a drowning, accidental drowning. Hirsch didn't give an explanation of how he got in the water. He just said, yeah, he drowned. Dr. Hirsch did test his blood alcohol level and found that he was over the limit. One source I saw that it was 0.16, but apparently after you die, your blood alcohol level can go up by 0.04 if you're already hammered like that. So it probably would have been like 0.012. Hirsch didn't give an exact number. This is from the autopsy report years later. He just said that it was, quote, more than a little, but less than a lot, which is a funny way of saying that, I find.
Confusing.
Yeah, it's like, what do you mean? It's like, did he have all his faculties? Could he remember the night? You don't know? All right. Dr. Hirsch didn't discover any other substance in his body, and he didn't have any other physical injuries. Patrick was in the same clothes that he went missing in, minus his shirt. He just had pants and socks on.
Hmm.
So this led Dr. Hirsch to the conclusion that there was no foul play involved. Detective Gannon had worked this case for almost 6 weeks and didn't believe that this was anything but a murder for a second. Bodies don't typically get found in the river face up, and if it's drowning, sorry, and he got witnesses that say they saw someone following Patrick just before he went missing. So Detective Gannon, problem with him, he's in the missing person squad, but Patrick isn't missing anymore. So as soon as they found Patrick's body, the case is reassigned to homicide division, who said that the case was a clear drowning. Patrick was drunk, walking near the East River, probably tried to take a piss or something and fell in. That's their explanation. And they say since he was wearing the same clothes, probably fell in the same night he went missing. So Gannon didn't let the case go, though. He went to the NYPD Harbor unit and got a bunch of information regarding currents on the night Patrick drowned. Where Patrick's body was found and how the water was moving that night didn't add up. There's no way that Patrick's body could have been carried 12 miles down the river. And also, Gannon got a look at the photos of Patrick's body. The slippage of skin didn't make sense for someone who'd been missing in the water for 50 days.
I don't think that string of words will ever make sense to my brain.
Yeah, slippage. When you die, you start to rot, right? After a bunch of things start happening to your body, but your skin's supposed
No,
to become...
not me. Not me. I'm perfect. It's not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen. You'll probably rot
No.
perfectly, uniformly.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that's
like
true.
I'll just like it'll be like 3 months and I'll look completely the same, and then just like the next day you wake up and I'm a
Gone.
full skeleton.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually slippage,
Freaky.
like skin slippage like that'll happen after a couple days without being in the water. And cold water can slow the process down. But after 50 days, it would have been hard to get him out of the water without some of his skin slipping off. So, but all of his skin was intact. Gannon, this indicated that Patrick didn't die that night. He was put in the water later. So Gannon starts going like, dude, I need to find this fucking car that was following them. So he gets that partial license plate he got from the witnesses and brings it in to get it analyzed. Unfortunately, Gannon brings the partial in for tracking. The NYPD told him that they didn't have enough money to waste time finding a car of a guy who died accidentally. So they just didn't look it up. And that's the end of his official investigation because he really can't do much after that. He's a missing persons guy. He's got a lot of work to do. He did actually make friends with Patrick's parents over the 6 weeks of his investigation. And he vowed to them, like, I'm going to figure out exactly what happened to your son. Like, no stone unturned, you know. And over the years, Gannon didn't forget, but he didn't have much to go on. So he continues like solving cases for missing person squad. And over the years, he also saw a couple more missing persons cases that resembled Patrick that made him think like 2 more died in the exact same way over the next 15 months. So in December 1997, the case of a 22-year-old Lawrence Andrews Jr. comes across his desk. On the 31st of December 97, Larry, as he was called, was taking the train to New York Times Square to meet up with his friends to watch the ball drop for New Year's. This was a tradition he and his friends partook in every year. So shortly after midnight, Larry and his friends separated for whatever reason, and Larry was never seen again. That was about 2 in the morning, walking near 42nd Street.
Yeah.
Gannon wasn't assigned this case, but he did see the case come across. No one could find Larry anywhere until 6 weeks later. Again, sometime in February, Larry's found dead in Bay Ridge, almost in the exact same spot that Patrick was found 10 months earlier. And this would have been another 9-mile float down the river. Typically, statistically, in most drownings, bodies are found within 100 feet of where they went in. So for him to move that far from where he was last seen, kind of crazy. There was no mention of slippage in this one, so I'm sorry, RJ, I didn't get to gross you out with slippage.
Thank you.
And there wasn't any mention if Larry was found face up or face down either. So, but
We don't. So it's Schrodinger's Larry. We don't know if he was alive or dead.
exactly, exactly. He was both alive and dead.
Yeah.
I'm guessing both those things were a factor here for Gannon to associate these two drownings, but I don't know that for a fact. And then 5 months later, on May 17th, 1998, a 19-year-old Yeshiva University student named Josh Bender was found in the Hudson River near 138th Street in Harlem. He had gone missing actually only 2 weeks prior, but no one really knows if Josh was out partying the night he went missing or not, because last any time anyone heard of him, he was at his dorm studying for his final exams. And the dorm was located 3 miles from where his body was discovered. These are the three cases that makes Gannon start to see a lot of similarities in, but he's not actively working these cases. He's just starting to kind of like formulate a little bit of a theory here, what he thinks going on. He has an actual job. He's doing that. He moved over to the supervising the Bronx Homicide Squad in 1999. Yeah, he's busy doing that. I'm sure there was plenty of murders in the Bronx in 1999 to keep him busy. He does that for a couple more years, retires in 2001. By this time, Gannon still hadn't forgotten about the case, Patrick's case. He remembers that promise, and he didn't really know how to pursue the case. So he starts looking for cases that are similar when he's not a police officer anymore. Now he's like, I'm going to start because I have a theory now. I have a little baby theory. Something's going on here. So in October 2002, Graham turned on the news and noticed that several young men in Minnesota and Wisconsin had gone missing, and they all had the same profile. Young white guys, buff, decent grades, college age. So this is where Gannon starts to theorize that if there is a serial killer on the loose in New York, maybe he's on the move. Maybe he's in Minnesota now. Maybe he's over in the Midwest. So Gannon goes and tells his theory to like the police, people that he knows. They laugh at him. I didn't say they laugh, but I imagine they laugh at him. I imagine they were very polite to him, and then when they left, they laughed at him.
False. Police have never been polite in their entire lives.
They're polite to each other, no?
Probably not.
You're probably right. So yeah, they laugh at him. Gannon, instead of telling the police, he calls his former partner up, a guy named Tony Duarte, which, what a great name. And he lets Duarte know his theory, and Duarte's on board right away. Fucking right. Let's dig in, buddy.
Ooh.
So they do a bunch of investigation into suspicious drownings, and they do find a bunch of different cases that could be connected. Like I said, I've seen different numbers. This is early on, so I've seen they find 30 or up to 70 cases of accidental drowning that wasn't investigated enough that could potentially be a murder. And this is over the next couple of years. Over that time, Duarte isn't the only one on board. There's actually already someone else out there that is working on the same serial killer theory as Gannon and Duarte. He's a professor of criminology at St. Cloud University in St. Cloud, Minnesota. His name's Dr. Douglas Lee Gilbertson. He goes by Lee. He was also noticing the same trend of young athletic men dying suspiciously from drowning. Gilbertson was a veteran of the U.S. Army, earned a Bachelor of Science from Liberal Arts at Excelsior College in 1999, got his master's, PhD. Now he teaches at St. Cloud, teaches criminology. Gilbertson starts noticing this trend in 2006. It was a case of a guy named Scott Riddell, who was a student of his university, St. Cloud University. And Riddell was recovered from the Mississippi River. Scott had been missing a couple weeks, and he was known as a outdoorsman. He was a guy who liked to spend time out in the woods and do that kind of stuff. So when he went missing, everyone was like, just thought they'd find him out in the bush somewhere. But he also went missing after a night at the bar with his friends. And then he starts sees that case, then he starts looking at back for some reason. I don't know why he looks back 2002, but maybe he just remembered the case and he starts to link this another case of a guy named Chris Jenkins, kid from University of Minnesota, out from a Halloween party, and his friends kicked him out of the party around midnight. I guess he was belligerently drunk. Never seen alive again. His body was pulled out of the Mississippi River near the Third Avenue Bridge in February 2003, still wearing the Indian headdress that was part of his Halloween costume, which something fucking hilarious about that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's I mean that's like it's just an embarrassing way to die. I mean, like
Yeah.
you don't like that's how you get remembered forever. It's like accidentally dying of autoerotic asphyxiation, except it's racist.
Yeah. Yeah. Dying of something not sexual but racist. Yeah. How else do you die from accidentally kill yourself with racism? That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
You drown with a fucking blackface on. Yeah, there you go. You did it.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, at least that would wash off in the water. Like
Uh,
accoutrements to your outfit, those aren't. You don't know that those are going to go anywhere.
there's another kid in Minnesota that went missing in the Minneapolis area. A young
He was
man.
wearing a sombrero when they found him.
Yeah, no. There's a young man named Josh Gaiman. He just went missing after partying with his friends. Unlike the other two, he was never found though. He just went missing. His body was never found.
Thank God they never
Yeah.
caught him wearing that turban.
Yeah. Gaiman, Jenkins, and Riddell's deaths made Gilbertson bring his theory to a couple of his graduate students. He was looking for like a final project for the crime analysis, mapping, and profiling class that he used to teach, and he thought this would be a great opportunity for the students to dig into something that he thought could potentially be big. So he gets them to dig into drowning deaths that happened between 1997 and 2006. And they supposedly found 22 different suspicious drownings that matched the profile. Yeah, this profile from the university students starts to get way more specific than just like white college age. Like now it's white or Asian men in their 20s, around 5'8" and 165 pounds, athletic and academically successful. Like that's very specific. 5'8". Like, wow, you guys really narrowed it down. You guys wanted an A.
Hmm.
So all the 22 victims that they found also had gone to college in the 50-mile stretch between Moreland, Minnesota and East Lansing, Michigan. 94% of those drownings happened within 100 miles of Interstate 94. In late 2006, Gilbertson publishes his theory on the serial killer. This is an academic paper, and this is where Gannon and Duarte take notice of Gilbertson's research. They read this and they're like, holy fuck, somebody else is thinking this too. And they just go to the University of St. Cloud University and just go meet up with Gilbertson. Just show up. That's fun. Two different people having a weird theory like that. Isn't that interesting? Cross country, really. How far is Minnesota from New York?
It's like an hour, dude.
Oh, so they're like close to each other. Okay, I don't know. What do you want from me? I'm not a
I'm
US
I'm just
person.
kidding. It's like 3,000 miles or something. I don't know.
I don't know which one's real.
I know. It's great.
How far is PEI from BC? Fuck you. Okay. They go there, they just want to exchange kind of notes, maybe go talk. And that's what they did. Gannon and Duarte had just started a new task force dedicated to investigating the mysterious drownings. They call it Global Death Investigations, which, come on, global. It's fun. They call it GDI for short. We're just going to call it GDI, but Global Death Investigations. They bring on another buddy of theirs, retired NYPD detective named Mike Donovan. And this is where their investigation gets like serious into this. So they start to tour the Midwest and all the different places they found mysterious drownings. They start going to where bodies were found, and interviewing family and witnesses, getting police reports, studying these police reports. And the GDI starts to build quite the database with over 300 suspicious drowning deaths. The next idea was to see if any of these deaths could be homicides instead of the accidental death it already was labeled as. And accidental drownings are probably, I found this interesting. I didn't, it's actually probably the hardest for law enforcement to investigate because finding bodies in bodies of water is different than normal crime scenes. Like if you find someone dead in a forest, police just like lock down the area within a mile and just like go looking for evidence. But you can't really do that in water. Like water moves bodies, water changes bodies. Water can be an indication of a lot of things, but there really isn't a scene Like you have to kind of guess where the body went into the water. Not many murders can be attributed to drowning, as we'll find out later. That's really hard to figure out if someone accidentally drowned or just got drowned,
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know how you would know the difference.
unless there's some sort of like struggle. There isn't, or bruising or something like that.
And how would you know they bruised if all their skin gets slippery and falls off?
It only falls off if you like mishandle it.
Oh, so the cops are incompetent.
Since when? Cops are never incompetent.
Yeah, what we've learned, they're incompetent and impolite.
Gannon just thinks that because most of these are labeled as accidental drownings doesn't mean it couldn't have been homicide, and homicides could have been missed. You see, actually, if you look into it, most drownings are classified as accidental. Like they don't even look into it. So the GDI found a few cases that the police should have investigated them as homicides. One of the examples I could find was the case of Dakota James. Dakota was from Frederick, Maryland. Same MO, smart, outgoing, handsome, athletic, 23, master student at Duquesne, Duquesne University.
Okay.
On January 25th, 2017, Dakota went out with his friends in downtown Pittsburgh. He left the bar alone at 11:30. To get home, he had to cross the Allegheny River. Dakota was seen on CCTV footage at about 11:50 near Katz Plaza, and that was the last time Dakota was seen alive. When he didn't show up to work the next day, his boss contacted his family, who in turn contacted the police to file a missing persons report. It took 40 days for the police to officially put together a wide-scale search for Dakota, and his body was found in the Ohio River. And the Allegheny River is about 10 miles from the bridge Dakota would have had to cross to get back to his house. So the Allegheny doesn't just turn into the Ohio either, it's dammed up at the mouth of the river. So after the autopsy, police called it an accidental drowning. Their theory is that Dakota stopped to piss on the Roberto Clemente Bridge or nearby and fell in the river. Then he would have had to float down 10 miles through a dam to be found in the Ohio River. And no signs of foul play. Sounds like an accident to
Oh.
me. You know what I mean? Sounds like an accident to me.
Yeah.
Fortunately for Dakota, his parents didn't agree with that, and police still dismissed the possibility of foul play. Parents still suspected murder, so they go on the internet to see if anyone in there could help them out, and they find the GDI website and hear about their smiley face killer theory. And they reach out to Kevin Gannon, who starts to investigate further. Many pieces of evidence weren't even investigated by the local authorities. The GDI hired a forensic expert to look over Dakota's computer. One thing they found was that Dakota's PayPal was used 2 days after he supposedly had gone missing. I don't know what he bought, but I do know it was the charge of 11.99. So he bought something for 11.99 2 days after he went missing.
Netflix subscription.
I was gonna say that's what I said is if it's got to be a subscription of some sort, but who the fuck pays Netflix subscription through PayPal?
I mean, yeah, I PayPal all my subscriptions in
No,
because
no, you don't. You fucking
I
liar.
I friend request all the CEOs, and I'm like, look, you don't need my credit card number. We have each other's emails, so obviously we're close personal friends.
Let's do this under the table. I don't want to pay tax.
Yeah, correct. But I am going to pay you $11.99. I don't want to deal with tax, but exact change, I'm a stickler.
I feel like that's what I thought too. Like it's got to be some sort of automatic payment or something. But it does make that look like Gannon could have been alive 2 days after they thought he'd gone missing. If they would have looked into it, they could have figured out maybe it was a Netflix subscription. But I'm assuming that Gannon and his GDI buddies, they all looked into it and figured out it wasn't that. But I don't know. So they start to dig a little deeper. They hired a PI before enlisting the services of GDI, and they talked to that guy and they swapped notes. The PI did a comprehensive search of the cameras around the Roberto Clemente Bridge, where the police say he must have fallen in. There was only the one camera at the Katz Plaza that saw Dakota that night, super far away from the Roberto Clemente Bridge. So there's nothing, no camera footage of him that night falling into the water, which there would have been. This is 2017. All major cities are very covered by cameras now. You can't go too far and get into too many blind spots. You get caught very easy if you do anything bad in the city now. The GDI even got a hold of Dakota's official autopsy report. And according to the report, Dakota had no trauma on all of his body. So, like I said, after consulting with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers again, the GA discovers that Dakota's body had gone through a gap in a dam. His body would have lots and lots of trauma. It would have been smashed around and fucking destroyed.
Oof. Probably got whole muscular skeletal slippage.
There've been
Slipped
MSD.
right out of his whole body.
He would have been probably. So yeah, GDI, they didn't have all the autopsy photos, and the Allegheny County DA wasn't giving it to the family. This is actually the same thing with the Patrick McNeil family. They didn't get the full report on Patrick until 12 years after his death in 2009. Like, it makes sense if this was a homicide, like they don't think it is, but they think it's a fucking accidental death. Why can't you give up the file? It's not like there's anything being actively investigated. Dakota's mother, Pam, gets in contact with the DA and tells them, like, why are you holding on to this? It's an accidental death. And she asks politely for the files. The entire report was released to Pam, in turn, the GDI. Dakota's file provided a lot of new information to the investigators. First of all, they said Dakota was free of injury. The photos looked like he had some bruising on his neck. The GDI got into contact with a doctor named Cyril Wecht, who was a renowned medical examiner, or is, who said that the bruising looked as though Dakota may have been strangled. Pam went to the DA to ask the case to be reopened and re-examined. They refuse. Pam and the GDI bring their info to the media, to which their medical examiner said they'd be willing to take another look. To this day, Dakota's case has never been reopened, so they just said, yeah, we'll look, and they just never did. Or they did, and they said, this is crazy. Gannon says this is typical. Many accidental deaths, if re-looked at, could potentially be reclassified as murders. And if they do that, that makes it look like the police didn't do their job properly the first time. So they say, fuck you, I'm not reopening
Hold
any
on.
cases.
Hold on. Only the police make it look like they're not doing their job properly. And they do that by not doing their job properly.
I know. Literally what I was about to say, like, if you just did your job, don't think you don't do your job properly. Like, it's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And the more the GAI looks into these cases, the more they find that probably should have been looked at. Let's go back to when Stevenson's involved. So they start digging. GDI apparently find more cases, evidence that wasn't followed through thoroughly. They find a few things that connect cases. I'm not sure really where Gannon starts, like, gets this. There's a story of him, like, being in the police station and looking over at, like, drugs that are out there right now, and he sees the drug GHB. Like, people are getting drugged with GHB, which is like date rape drug from the 90s. It stands for hydroxybutyric acid. Prescription version of this, it's a drug to treat narcolepsy. The nefarious way to use it is date rape drug. It causes memory loss, confusion, and physical weakness. When you mix it with drinking, it makes it even worse. 2020 survey out of the UK estimate that about 1/4 of rape victims had been dosed with GHB. So GHB is scary. It's odorless, colorless, tasteless, perfect for spiking someone's drink with. Most times, especially in accidental drowning cases, medical examiners don't test for GHB, even if they do testing for anything. And if they do test for anything, they do their regular toxicological examinations, which doesn't include GHB. Some medical examiners will do it out of a precautionary thing, but it's not part of most people's drug screening, which I find fucking crazy. So the GDI starts to look at old cases, and they find that about 30 of their whatever 600 cases they're up to now, the victim has GHD in his system. So that's 30 out of the 600 cases they already identified across 11 states. 11 states end up being a lot of places that the 600 victims could come from. So they start to think that this can't just be one person. This has to be a gang or gang related in some way. All Gannon, Duarte, and Dr. Stevenson all had experience working with gangs or studying gangs. So they start to say, hey, if this is a bunch of people, this must be gang related. So a gang of serial killers, they start to say. But if this is true, they think gangs usually have some sort of symbol associated with them, like a signature, you know? Like fucking Bloods with the red, the Crips with the blue, something along those lines. So they start to look for like a signature or something that connects all the crimes. Then they start looking at crime scene photos, and they start to notice that there's a lot of smiley face graffitis at a lot of these crime scenes. So they say, there's the connection, a fucking smiley face, guys. They have a link. They finally have a bunch of victims that could be murders. They have a link to all these crimes. They have GHB or whatever that could be, like people getting. It makes sense why these people just disappear with no fighting or anything like that. So we're going public. So they go public with their theory on April 29th, 2008. They announced that they have evidence that links and proves 40 drowning cases in 25 cities in 11 states can't be accidents, and they can be linked to the Smiley Face Killers. This means that the Smiley Face Killers were or would have to be a well-structured gang with cells across the country, if this is true. So, is this true? That's what we're figuring out today.
No, no.
Come on, RJ. Open your mind. Open your third eye. Come on. Get into it.
I have, and it's fixed very steadily on cops mishandling drowning victims and pulling all their skin off and being like, fuck, let's just say they got murdered.
All right, let's play devil's advocate for a bit here. Okay? Smiley face killers
Okay,
exist.
cops are great. They do no wrong, and I personally endorse them.
Okay, well, I don't mean like it's not opposite day.
Oh no, I was being the devil.
Okay. I'll be the advocate then.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pretend this exists. Let's give Gannon and Duarte and Stevenson their couple minutes here, okay? A lot of people just dismiss and say all these drownings are random. How could, if it's so random, why are they all the same profile? You know, always guys, always athletic, always somewhat smart, always in their 20s. They're pretty sure a gang works in different major cities, and they have perfected a way to keep the masses from figuring out that it's murder, drowning. Um, this to them indicates that somehow law enforcement must be helping in some manner as well. At least someone who understands how crime scene can be watered down with some water. This would require a lot of coordination on the part of the killers, and this would indicate that they have to be very organized. So the GDI believes that they are coordinating their efforts over the internet. So in 1997, the internet was the Wild West. I don't know when you got, like, how old were you in 97? Like seven, five,
Bye.
five. So
Well,
97.
for most of the year, I was 4.
So you didn't really have or remember the internet in 1997. I do.
I don't have a conscious moment really in my life where computers and the internet weren't a thing. We didn't have one right away when I was a kid, but they were around. We just didn't have one because we were poor.
Yeah. But you didn't have, like, I guess the early 2000s would have kind of been the same too, because that's when you probably would have started using the internet a lot, like 2000, like when you're 10, 11, 12, something like that.
Yeah, I mostly got introduced to the internet by after we got a computer, my mom had her friends over and they were getting drunk and looking at rotten.com,
Okay. So, and
which was just a bunch of pictures of dead bodies and shit.
yeah, another thing that's obsessed with death. People are obsessed with the killings and watching people die.
Yeah,
Because Rotten.com
and
was
Bud
not a
Light.
small website. But yes,
Oh, okay.
that's actually another good point. Like Rotten.com, would that website does it still exist?
I don't know. I'm not too keen on looking.
I've seen so many. I'm numb to it all. But
I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'll look at dead bodies. Specifically, rotten.com, I think, is why I am the way I am. So that it triggers a very particular gut feeling born out of trauma, and I'm not interested in
you're like
feeling that.
Dexter. You're like Dexter, except for not real crime scene. You were just born in front of the internet with crime scenes.
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you are you like killing internet trolls? Like, is that what you're doing?
No, just watching them die.
That's true. Yeah, you torture them with your keyboard.
Yeah,
Yeah, so 1997, the internet was more of like the Wild West than it is now. You could pretty much do anything. No one was watching you. You could find anything. It's pretty fucking crazy. It's if we had the internet capacity we have now, like with the speeds we have and the amount of like freedom we had in the 90s, the internet would be such a different place. Now you have to go to like the dark web to get to that somewhat similar feeling of the 1997
yeah.
internet.
There, a lot of children would have been abused.
Oh, for sure. You could be on some message board in the 90s bragging about killing and encouraging others to do the same. No one would have ever caught you, for sure. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what they think pretty much happened in the 97. People are just like, I killed someone. I left a smiley face at the scene. No, you didn't. Then they send pictures over these like fucking random message boards that would have existed. And then somebody, other guy was like, I'm going to do the same thing. And then they would have fun killing people together through the internet in the 90s. And no one would have caught them. If that's true, they're not wrong. No one would have caught them. No one would even know those message boards existed until maybe 20 years later when someone found them and then it's like, oh, funny joke. So they think that happens. They think nowadays it's evolved more into like a dark web thing where
Mm.
like there's guys like the GDI said that they tried to infiltrate a group like this on the dark web or something similar, but they don't get far enough because they don't have the proper passwords and couldn't get into the rooms or whatever, the credentials that they had. And they said they've seen many videos on the dark web that show some gruesome stuff. And some people that are in the videos, to them, they think they're police officers doing these crazy things just because of like how they hold themselves in the training or whatever fucking things they're yelling.
Mm.
And they say that all the crime scenes with the smiley faces, it's like some sort of big gag to the gang. Like that's what they do. They just leave it and then they wait till it pops up or they show it in these like basically red rooms, I guess. There's criticism that we'll get into with the next theory of the smiley faces, but we'll talk about that in the this isn't real portion of this. But they do say that the smiley faces don't look all the same at all these different places. But the GDI just says that that's why they think it's a gang. It's not always the same person making the smiley faces, so they would look different. Another criticism of the smiley faces being a signature is that they aren't present at all the crime scenes. They're not at all the scenes. They're only at a certain small of them. The GDI explains this away with we don't think they're at all the crime scenes. Like we just don't think they're there. Okay, a lot of the time that the dumping ground of the victim has to be guessed because of how far they float down the river. So you're just looked in the wrong spot. They'd have to be at all this places. Just we didn't look in the right. The smiley face was in the right spot, guys. Come on. When they finally get Patrick's police report in 2009, they actually find evidence that Patrick's death was not an accident. Patrick's autopsy showed burn and ligature marks on his neck, indicating that he was strangled or might have been strangled. They also found fly eggs starting to form around Patrick's groin, like house flies, and hatch larvae.
Oh, that's not appropriate to kink shame him, I think.
Maybe it was a kink. Maybe we didn't even think of it that way.
Yeah, dude.
Housefly eggs would not form in the water, the freezing cold water, no less, if he'd fallen in the East River the night he went missing. So this indicates to the GDI that Patrick's body was not killed in the water and must have been stored, like killed somewhere else and stored indoor, somewhere warm for at least a couple days. A couple days that give the time for the flies and fly larvae to actually hatch, which I forget the exact amount of days. I think it's 40 days or something. For the amount of slippage that he would have had, he could have only been in the water for 10 days. So they think he was held captive for 40 days
Mm.
or something to that extent in like some sort of red room type situation or some sort of situation like that where all these guys are torturing and waterboarding. They assume waterboarding is the way they're torturing because there's no evidence left of that. And they drown and die. And there's a gang of people doing this across the dark web together in tandem for fun, just to like one up each other. And to get away with it, they use water as their method of death. That's their theory, basically. Playing devil's advocate, sure, like why not? But I don't think
Yeah.
so.
No, I like my cops not understanding that when they pick up a wet body, it'll just like peel like a bad orange.
So we'll talk about the no smiley face killer gang at all. So let's just start this whole thing off with when the GDI went public with their theory, the exact same day the FBI had a press conference refuting it. Here's a quote from that press conference. We have not developed any evidence to support links between these tragic deaths or any evidence substantiating the theory that these deaths are the work of a serial killer or killers. Basically saying, shut the fuck up, guys. Like, this isn't happening. God, I know you gave us the evidence. You thought we just didn't do anything? We're the fucking FBI. You guys are dumb. You guys are three
Yeah.
retired cops. I'm not saying that the FBI are any better in cop land, but I'm sure they're smarter, you know? Anyways.
Mm.
So they say they looked at the theory, horseshit all around. Not exact words, but I'm going to say that. In 2010, the Center for Homicide Research, a nonprofit in Minnesota, puts out a paper, 12 pages, basically just to slam the smiley face theory, killer theory. 12 pages of fuck this theory in the most academic way possible, which I really liked. I thought it was really
Mhm.
fun to read that they just like slam dunked on this fucking dumbass theory. So here's some of the problems with this theory listed in the report. There are multiple. I'm not going to go over the whole list because some of it's like super obvious, but some of it's fun. So the smiley faces themselves. The smiley face is probably one of the world's most used pieces of graffiti. Not America's, not Canada's, the world's. It's everywhere. Somebody is quoted as saying, I forgot to write down the guy, but he says, if you look, it's one of the other cops that don't think this is true. He says, if you go in a 5 mile radius, you're going to find five smiley faces for sure somewhere. It's just super popular. So that could mean that these smiley faces graffiti that are near the sites where the people were supposedly murdered are just like it's just a coincidence. Okay. Many of the smiley face graffiti found near the sites actually look older than the murders themselves. They look weathered and fucking done for. It doesn't look like someone killed someone and sprayed paint. It was there before. It turns out that of the 40 murders that the GAI claims could be SFK murders or deaths, they found only 22 smiley faces. So that's just over 50% of the cases. It's not even all of them. It's only some of them. And nearly none of them look the same. Out of the 22 smiley faces they found, they all look super different. GDA claims that there are other markings. So someone's like, they don't even look the same. GDI comes back with them. They're like, well, there's other pieces of like graffiti that we're not going to tell you guys about. It's like our holdback evidence. We're not going to give it out to the public. But the smiley faces for sure. But there's other things that link this. Sure. I don't believe that there's anything else, but sure. And if there was something else, these guys were like ex-cops. They would have told their cop buddies, and the cops would have looked into it. Like, you know what I mean? They're not going to like hold that back from the police. Next problem. Not many of the victims have signs of trauma. Patrick McNeil had signs of being tied up by the hands and dying before he got into the water. That's about it. Most bodies have no signs of trauma. That being said, maybe the fact that water might have washed away the evidence, but that seems unlikely. Water doesn't wash away bruising. He might wash away skin, but if there was skin, you'd see abrasions or bruises or whatever. So that's one. That's another problem. Problem three is actually water washing away evidence is somewhat of a myth.
How?
Water can wash away blood.
Sorry, you're explaining.
Yep. Water can wash away blood and dirt, stuff like that. Water can also sometimes help investigation on how someone dies. Water tends to be cold, slows down decomposition. So you can kind of see, like, if someone's been in the water for a long time, they more of their body will survive until you kind of like rip their skin off by accident. So you can kind of tell stuff will be more preserved. Latent fingerprints have been preserved on bodies that have been in the water for a length of time. Fiber evidence, it's been known to stay on body, and believe it or not all blood will always be washed away. Sometimes when blood gets all crusty and hard,
Hmm.
it'll stay on you too. So you don't necessarily, yes, a lot of evidence does get, but not everything. Not just because you're in the water doesn't mean stuff under fingernails, stuff that's all crusty, stuff that's into like into the fabric of your clothes. That stuff won't all be washed away. So you can still get plenty of evidence from drowning victims if cops want to look.
Mhm.
Yeah, none of the smiley faces even match. We talked about this earlier. They all look different. Some say this is evidence of a gang of murders, but it seems more far-fetched. One serial killer is rare, but a gang of serial killers seems like impossible to me. But I'm not sure if that's the case. Another problem is where the victims died or fell into the water is an estimate. That being said, how do you know that the smiley face is where the body actually went in? You know, especially when the body, like they said, oh, it's could have went in somewhere else where there was a smiley face, but where there was that smiley face, how do you know someone actually went in? Could float it from anywhere. The smiley faces existing give anyone who believes this theory a good place to assume that's where the bodies went in. But at the end of the day, it's an assumption. You don't know that for a fact. So another problem is a statistical problem. Homicidal drowning is extremely rare. Like 0.2% of all murders in the US are from homicidal drowning. Half of these are filicides, killing your kids. So, of the ages of men supposedly involved in the SFK is about 18 to 23. Homicidal drownings of men between those ages only represents 0.03% of murders in the US, which It's a very small number. And to change that to like a serial killer killing multiple people is wild. It's wild. Problem number seven, if you start thinking of it logically, why would a serial killer gang exist? Like, why would a gang of serial killers exist? Usually, serial killers do their murders for some sort of like personal gratification, monetary, sexual, mercy, even like a mercy killer. What is the gratification of the group?
Um,
Is it the Red Room thing that we kind of mentioned? Like, is it some sort of like murdered live on the dark web for paying customers? But like that seems like super lame. Here's Johnny, he's 23. Let's waterboard him again. It's like, are we paying for this again? It's just another waterboarding. Like I feel like if you're gonna be doing that on the internet, you want like variety. You're rich. You're paying for someone to die. Like, let's see a chainsaw. You know? Let's do this like for real though. Like we're just gonna waterboard him every time. It doesn't seem
sure.
this is like I love watching waterboarding. Here's $10,000 a month. Find a new one. Like maybe. The only thing that saves the serial gang theory is that it might be a red room, and that to me still seems crazy. So, with the evidence that Patrick wasn't killed right away, and Dakota evidence that he spent money on PayPal 3 days after he disappeared, maybe that is what's happening. Maybe they aren't dead. Maybe they're just alive for another couple days, do their dark web shit, and then throw them in the fucking water. I don't know. Doesn't make sense though.
Mhm.
Another problem, people are saying only males are drowning. So how does this fit the profile? If only males are drowning, it must be a serial killer. That's a pattern, right? Yes, but not a pattern that matters as much as you think. Men from the ages of 18 to 23 have a higher risk of dying from misadventure than women of the same age. This is just a simple fact that guys do dumber shit than women. Some women do die from accidental drowning, but the number is far lower than a man, and that's worldwide. Do you know what auto assassination is, RJ?
Is that when you assassinate yourself?
Yes. Not quite suicide, but it's assassinating yourself by being an idiot. So it's a style of living.
Oh,
Yeah, it's living with reckless disregard for one's own life. So binge drinking.
that's cool.
Yeah, auto assassination. I never heard of it until I started reading this. So binge drinking is a way to live recklessly. You
Hey,
binge drink and you
is
do
there?
dumb shit and you die. That's auto assassination because you were an idiot.
So I guess the thing we were talking about earlier could be autoerotic asphyxiation assassination.
Yeah. That's true. That's a lot of A's and autos.
Mhm.
Yeah. Let's talk about suicide. Could be just suicide. Binge drinking is a common precursor to suicide. 25% of all suicides are immediately preceded by alcohol use. Frequent binge drinking is a strong indicator of actual suicide attempts. It's just think these guys could have just went and killed themselves. Like it could be that too. And people just want answers, and I get that. This reminds me of Joe Pitchler. You know, Pitchler killed himself, or Pickler. Pickler killed himself. I'm not sure a lot of these victims, like that Gannon, Duarte, Gilbertson are investigating, did kill themselves too, but they could have been. They could have done that. Another problem is the GHB theory. GHB isn't included in a standard drug screen, so it's possible they were drugged. The victims were tested. They did find some GHB in their system. Problem with that, they found GHB is that it can be found naturally in a body after it's dead. So your body produces GHB naturally in the death process. So GDI claims that the amount found in the victims' bodies is more than what could be naturally occurring, but it seems more likely the GHB in the bodies could just be a red herring in this entire fucking thing. Another problem, being sad and confirmation bias. Making a bad guy is a good way to rationalize the death of a loved one, especially when they die from either suicide or just in a tragic way. So instead of them, it's just like something sad that happened, it's someone must have done this. It's the only thing that makes sense to me, especially a sad mom or sad parent. It wasn't them. They were perfect. That'd be someone else. Either way, I've heard that the GDI has given up on the research into the SFK. They have to do PI work now because they have to pay bills and no one was paying them for this at all. There is one more little funny story that goes on the end of this. In recent years, there's a TikToker named Ken Walks that claimed he was almost abducted by smiley face killers. And after his terrifying experience, he went on to try and solve the case. He got millions of views on the he went viral doing this. I never found anything, but he does actually get in contact with Gannon and Duarte and them, and he exchanges notes with them. He gives them all the research. He had to give it up though, looking into it, because he said he solved it. Didn't really solve anything. And also in his video, he starts advertising in his video like, "Oh, fucking buy my stuff, you know, join my Patreon." So people started calling him a ghoul. Just like us. He's
Yeah.
canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Wow.
canceled. He pussed out though. He went the opposite way as I did, and I said, "Fuck you, I'm going to
Yeah.
do it anyway." He went, "I'm sorry, I'll never do it again." And then now all his TikToks get less than 10K views, and his followers are
Mm.
under 1 million now.
Loser.
Yeah, don't be a pussy. Just claim you solved it, and just fucking follow a guy around until you get in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, Ken Walks is funny. He's the funny part to me. That was in 2021. He's the last real thing I've seen from the Smiley Face Killer gang. Still a theory that's out there. You're on the cops just suck and they
Yeah.
don't investigate enough. That'll be my final thought for the entire thing too, is that like, while there may not be a Smiley Face Killer gang, I do think that there is a gap in investigation into accidental drownings. And I think cops should probably just do a little bit more work when they find one of these guys floating in the water. So things like this don't pop up where people get so sad that their person or whoever died that they have to make up some fucking story so someone actually pays attention to it and actually looks into it for them. Because Patrick's death to me sounds really suspicious. And that's how this whole thing started. And that's the one that I think he may have may not have been murdered. Everybody else might just be sad. No, that's the
Yeah.
ending.
I mean, everyone's sad.
Well, not me. I'm not sad. I'm happy.
People who are don't need to say that.
When people say everyone's sad, then yes, you have to fucking tell them you're not sad for sure. I wouldn't just say I'm happy.
No. You're being defensive.
I'm defending the fact I'm fucking happy.
Yeah, that's what I just said. I mean, but it's not true.
You're just being jealous because you're
Of
sad.
what?
You're sad.
You
You wish you could be happy.
you living in a not fascist regime? Yes, a little bit.
You can move up here anytime. I'll get you a job and everything. You just gotta like go through a bunch of like immigration stuff.
Just that one piece.
It's not that hard.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
I just watched Private Dicks and I think RJ's the funniest.
What? Come on.